We could either work a little bit more dynamically distally by maintaining the trunk extension and doing the hip extension, or we can maintain the hip extension and do the trunk extension if we want to work the proximal attachment more dynamically. And while we were resting, let's continue with our nerve gliding exercise demonstration. And right now, I'm going to be showing you guys how to release tension on the genitofemoral nerve. A few days ago, I showed you how to perform the genitofemoral nerve tension test. And right now, we are going to be taking that test and turning the test into a nerve gliding exercise. The way that we are going to be doing that is we are going to be in a prone position on the massage table or on the floor. It doesn't really matter where you are, but you're in a prone position, so you're going to be on your stomach. And what we want to do is we want to just get our feet off of the table if you are on a table. We want to start just in a nice flat position. We want to take the hip into slight abduction, abduction away from the midline. Obviously, I exaggerated, not quite that much, just slight abduction. From here, I'm going to be showing you 3 different ways. One where we could work distally on the nerve, one where we could work a little bit more proximally, and then one where we are going to combine the two together. If we want to work distally, what we would do is start at the hip. So we can go ahead and while maintaining that slight abduction, we're going to go into hip extension with a neutral knee. So just lift your leg up 3 to 5 times. And then you want to ask yourself, are my symptoms getting better, worse, or stayed the same? If your symptoms have gotten worse or stayed the same, stop immediately. There is no need to continue the exercise. We don't want to exacerbate your symptoms. However, if your symptoms have gotten better, then we would do additional repetitions. So while maintaining that hip abduction, we're going to do 20 repetitions of hip extension. That's if we want to work distally. If we want to work proximally, what we are going to do is we are going to add the component of trunk extension. So what we would do, take that hip into abduction, and then we would want to just go ahead and go into trunk extension. 3 to 5 repetitions, and then ask yourself, have my symptoms gotten better, worse, or stayed the same? If your symptoms have gotten better, worse, or stayed the same, or if your symptoms have gotten worse or stayed the same, stop immediately. There's no need to continue with the exercise. However, if they have gotten better, then we would go ahead and we would do an additional 20 repetitions. Now, if we wanted to work both the proximal and distal ends, there's a couple of ways that we could do this. Option number 1 is we could go ahead and do both at the same time. So we're going to maintain that hip in abduction. And then while maintaining that hip in abduction, we're going to go into trunk and hip extension simultaneously. Do 3 to 5 repetitions. And then ask yourself, have my symptoms gotten better, worse, or stayed the same? If your symptoms have gotten worse or stayed the same, stop immediately. There is no need to continue with the exercise. We don't want to exacerbate your symptoms. However, if your symptoms have gotten better, we are going to do an additional 20 repetitions of simultaneous hip and trunk extension. And then if you didn't want to do it simultaneously, the other option that we could do is if we wanted to maintain one static position and one moving position, we could either work a little bit more dynamically distally by maintaining the trunk extension and doing the hip extension, or we can maintain the hip extension and do the trunk extension if we want to work the proximal attachment more dynamically. But you would do the same thing. You do your 3 to 5 repetitions. You ask yourself if your symptoms have improved or if they've gotten worse or stayed the same. If they've gotten worse or stayed the same, stop immediately. No need to continue. If they've gotten better, perform 20 repetitions. And that is how we would treat any type of issues related to the genitofemoral nerve. So if you do happen to have any tension, let's say you have tingling in the groin area, or if you have any type of pain in the upper thigh, this would be a great way that we could treat this. During the next rest period, I'm going to be showing you how we can release tension in the obturator nerve. But for right now, our rest period is up. It is time for set number 7. That was just a tiny taste of what can be found in my members only section. If you enjoyed it, become a member for only $5 a month to get access to hundreds of member only videos.